Adam, dude, heartbreaker, man. Absolute heartbreaker. It's really all I got to say right here. Uh,
Yeah.
we're obviously going to discuss the loss, man, and be spending some time on this. This was a tough one. A moment, and for the bad, obviously in Tennessee, as far as Tennessee seasons go, and we'll talk a little bit about the impacts and stuff that's going to have. Um, and dude, I mean, I'll start out with just a little bit on it. And Tennessee fans, you're not going to probably want to hear this, but Uh, I was going to say season ender, but there are some things that I want to point out that still got to look at as the season goes. That's going to be important, I think, for Tennessee. But as far as winning or being in the playoffs or winning any type of big game like that, SEC championship, anything, that's out the window after this game. So that is unfortunate. You know, I'll say early on, we're in week 10, but we kind of know, I said it was a playoff game, man, from here on out, starting with the Kentucky game. After they took the Alabama loss, I was like, everything's a playoff game. Can't afford any more losses. The annoying thing for me, man, is it was a night game at Neyland, dark mode. The energy and the atmosphere was great, dude. Great. And the defense finally shows up and plays a first half, held Oklahoma to like what 99 yards in the first half or something like that.
Yeah.
And their offense, dude, just I mean we were moving the ball all over the place, but what do you know? Defense like finally puts a half together, and the offense kind of like when they first came out in that first drive, man, and right off the rip though, first play, I know ball slipped out of Joey's hand. He got it. That was technically a fumble, right off the rip that they recovered. But then they went down. We kind of got bailed out a little with the pass interference. I mean, it was pass interference, but the defense there bailed us out on that, and we went down right down and scored. Dude, they're going right down the field again, and you're thinking we're about to go up 14-0 on this team. Just absolutely moving the ball, and then of course the fumble return for a touchdown. Just this was a game I think that made it so frustrating because Tennessee had no business losing that game. They should have went up at halftime. Uh, it should have been 24 to like 6, dude. Oklahoma didn't have an offensive touchdown in the first half. It was the defensive touchdown. I'll let you kind of get going on it. I know you got some things to say, and I'll come back to it. But just frustrating, man. That was very frustrating for me. I did say, you called me right before half to get my thoughts, and I said, I think I kind of shocked you a little bit in how I said it, but I was just like, Tennessee's going to lose this game, and that might come off for you Tennessee fans like you're just being negative, and but I mean, I was just looking at it, man, how the game play. I watched a lot of football. I watched a lot of Tennessee football, especially, and when you see a team that shoots themselves in the foot that much and doesn't take an opportunity on when you have a struggling defense who's finally playing well, and you don't take the opportunity in the first half like that, you normally don't come out winning a game, man. And unfortunately, to me, that's just kind of what happened. He did, really shot themselves in the foot in that first half, and that just kind of set it up for failure going into the second half.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. I mean, if you look at how many possessions we had and you look at what we did with those possessions, it doesn't spell well for Tennessee in this one, obviously. I mean, I don't have it in front of me anywhere, but I can tell you just off of memory, I think there were potentially 5 possessions that Tennessee had that resulted in nothing, absolutely nothing. And a majority of those came in the second quarter. Tennessee went scoreless in the second quarter. Um, and really in SEC play, any big time play, but especially conference play in the SEC, you can't go a quarter without scoring the ball. In that second quarter, Oklahoma put up 9 points on you, and you don't counter that at all with anything, not even a field goal. So you lay the goose egg in the second quarter, and realistically, man, I mean, obviously there's a lot more to the game than just that second quarter, but I'm a firm believer that that second quarter is what pretty much turned the game around. I mean, that's kind of when you saw Oklahoma kind of taking control of the ball game slowly but surely. And yeah, like I said, I mean, 9 points to nothing in that second quarter is just You can't let that happen. You cannot let that happen. Um, he talked about how Tennessee really had no business losing this game. And it's so true, man. When you look up and down the stat sheet, now I'm not talking about individual stats, I'm talking about the team stats. When you look up and down the team stats, I mean Tennessee pretty much led or had better team statistics than Oklahoma. Um, this is one game, and we can dive into the specifics here in a minute, but this is one game that Tennessee actually did something that we've been praying and hoping that they would do all season, and they finally cleaned up those freaking penalties, man. Tennessee only had 3 penalties the entire game for 25 yards total. We haven't seen that in 2 years, 3 years. So that's just another aspect of the game that really sticks out in my mind. That Tennessee just didn't capitalize on playing a little bit cleaner of a game when it comes to penalties. We usually rack up, man, we're usually pushing double digit penalties with close to 100 yards in penalty yards. And in this game, to only have 3 penalties for 25 yards, I mean, usually those types of things on a stat sheet go in your favor in the final outcome. Man, there's so much I can say about this game, and I know we're going to continue talking about it, but just overall, it's a heartbreaker. It's a stinger. I mean, the Georgia loss was a stinger for sure, but at least you looked like you knew what you were doing in moments. There's moments in this game, we couldn't run the ball in this game. Tennessee only had 63 rushing yards in this entire game. That's uncharacteristic of our offense most nights. Um, there's just, and Joey Aguilar kind of taking a step back and doing some uncharacteristic things that he's done so far this season. I mean, everybody knows his story if you've been following Tennessee football, and you kind of hear people talking about how well he's always been a turnover machine and all this stuff, and that may ring true to some aspect, but for the most part, he's taken care of business this year, and he's put up big numbers and stuff like that. But in this one, I mean, he at times, and I think you even said it when I gave you a phone call, at times he just looked shook. He just looked rattled. He
He did.
didn't really look as poised as he usually looks. So that just off rip without us diving into it like we're getting ready to. Those are some of the things that really, really, really frustrate me, man. Is the penalties that we actually improved on. You know, 3 turnovers. There's so many things that we led statistically in that doesn't make sense on how we lost this game. I'll just say that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's just frustrating. That atmosphere and under the circumstances, dude, of like knowing it's basically playoff football, like knowing what you're playing for, is just very disappointing. Like I feel like the fan base deserved more than that, than what was put out on the field. Again, like I said, man, it's hard to harp on it, but like when your defense finally puts up a first half that you haven't seen from them, I thought when after that first drive we scored, then the defense matched that energy and actually had, well, I think we had a 3-and-out even on that, or I just remember us stopping them, and I'd be like, did we actually stop a team on the first drive? Because time and time again this year, I've seen us go right down the field and score right off the rip, and then the next thing you know, the team returns the favor and scores right on us. But um, Joey, man, he did not have a good game overall, and people would look at the stats and be like, well, he almost threw for 400 yards, what, like 3 touchdowns. Okay, he did have some good moments still. I mean, he still puts up a lot of yards, and he is a gunslinger. Um, and we've talked good about Joey all year, so there's not, and I still believe Joey's a good quarterback for us. I think we got the better end of the deal with him and Nico. I do, you know, he's a great leader. Honestly, I feel like he's got a great personality about him, and just so I'm not saying, oh, Joey don't need to be the QB, but he did have a bad game overall, and a lot of the reason we lost this game though was on some of the turnovers Joey had when he in the first half when he fumbled that. I mean, that we were going to go up 14-0. I'm confident that they would have scored a touchdown on that drive, and then at whatever attempt, Kitzelman's never going to be on defense. I'll tell you that because I don't know what type of tackle attempt that was, but I guess he was trying to strip the ball. I don't know.
Oh
That,
gosh.
that right there, man, was just that was a gut shot, but we could have recovered from that. And, you know. I think I text you. It's almost like it was kind of a wild text to say because it was like we had with our type of offense and explosive offense we had, we had two timeouts. So I think it was under a minute left in that fourth quarter. And I think I made the comment to you. I was like, Joey's, he's shook right now. I said, well, I say just take a knee and get to halftime, which would sound crazy,
Yeah.
but what the very like next play he throws an interception after I'd said that, and that set up another Oklahoma field goal. So you look at the fumble that gave Oklahoma a touchdown. He had that interception that set up a field goal, and I'm sure they capitalized on one of the other interception he had. I think to lead to another field goal, and that kicker was kicking from like 50 yards. It's just so he was making everything, and um, so I mean, that right there, man. It's 13 points off of Joey turnovers. Um, and at the end of the day, man, that kind of really flipped it around in that first half. Because, like I said, that first half, watching the game, man, that there's no reason it shouldn't have been. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's 24-6, something like that. Um, realistic. Like if we had not had the turnovers and the stuff that we were doing, man, because we were moving the ball all over the field, even though I know the rushing game wasn't as good, but passing, um, I mean, they couldn't stop our receivers, um, so we definitely had them on that, and they were struggling. Like I said, on offense, man, I mean, they were just struggling. They weren't moving the ball a ton, and so I got more to say about, I guess, on how it'll end up affecting this year. It was just a rough loss, man. It was tough to watch, but I seen the writing on the wall with it, man. When it was the way that first half ended, and the way that first half went, I was like, this ain't gonna go good.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It's sad to kind of see how your season kind of played out. And obviously it is a little bit doom and gloom, but I mean, yeah, the season's not over, but I mean, I feel like the expectations as a fan and what Heupel's done with this team and kind of built the culture up, and you make the playoffs last season with a subpar offense and a subpar quarterback, and then you get to this season, and you've got a quarterback that can move the ball. You've got a quarterback that can throw the ball and score points and all that stuff. And you start having flashes of what we know Josh Heupel's offense to be and is what it's capable of. You get that this season, and somehow you fall short of the playoffs. And I think that's one of the hardest pills to swallow. Now, obviously, I know that the defense took a step back, and well, we took multiple step backs if you ask me, but yeah, I understand all that, but you thought, part of me, and this may be the Tennessee fan in me, but part of me thought that even though we had our defensive struggles, our offense was going to be enough to lead us to the playoffs this year, as opposed to last year with the defense leading us to the playoffs. Um, and I think a big part of what you're seeing, and especially in this game, I can't harp on it enough, man. 63 rushing yards in any SEC game isn't going to get the job done. I mean, you can talk about the turnovers all you want and some of the mishaps and all that stuff, but if you're only putting up 63 rushing yards in an SEC game, I think you'd be hard pressed to go back and look at box scores of any SEC game and find that the winning team only had 63 rushing yards. It just doesn't do it. But I did want to bring up these stats. I was going to dive into them there a little bit ago, but I think it's more. This is a better opportunity to dive into it. So this just kind of lays out why it's hard to swallow that Tennessee lost this game. You had more total yards, 456 to 351. You had more passing yards, 393 to 159. More yards per play, 5.7. You had more first downs, 21. You did better on third down. Tennessee went 7 for 13, and you even mentioned it. Tennessee's defense actually stopped Oklahoma on some of their third down conversions, which hasn't happened at all this season. You had more total plays. You had less penalties. This is something that rattled me a little bit, and I didn't really realize it watching the game. I don't know how I didn't catch this, but Tennessee only had 3 penalties for 25 yards. Oklahoma was penalized 11 times for 104 yards. So uh, penalties gave you 100 yards to the good against this team. Of course, you lost the turnover battle, 3-2. It's just I don't know, man. It's just one of those things that it's hard to swallow, and it sucks. It really does.
If you read the even with the Russian, if you read those stats side by side, you would want and you no one told you any context to the game or anything. They didn't tell you the score. You just read those stats side by side. You would fully say that oh Tennessee won this, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
that's what's so crazy, man.
it really is. And you know, on Tennessee's drives. Now, I was talking about earlier. I said there's 5 drives that I can think of where we came up with absolutely nothing. Um, and I don't mind to slow things down here and talk about this because it's important. It lays the context of how the game went. So obviously, you first come out, score a touchdown off rip. Then you have the fumble. Okay, so there's one possession with nothing. In the second quarter, where you went scoreless, you threw 2 interceptions. You only had 2 possessions in the second quarter. So there's 3 possessions where you did nothing with. In the third quarter, you punted twice, so that's 5 drives where you came up with absolutely nothing. And then there was a possession on in the fourth quarter where you went for it. That was the play where the tight end snuck out and he was wide open and he just dropped the ball. It was a 4th and 1, I think. Do you remember that play? 4th and 1. It was going to be a situation where Tennessee was going for it on 4th and 1. Now, mind you, there's 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter at this moment. So you pretty much have the entire fourth quarter to make a little run and a comeback here. 4th and 1, Tennessee goes for it. And it kind of shocked me that they didn't opt to run the ball, but why would they when they hadn't found success all night? It's just like a slight little 2 or 3 yard curl by the tight end. He's wide open. There's not a soul on him. Joey Aguilar hits him, boom, kind of hits him in the face mask and hands like this, and it just falls. And dude's wide open. I mean, I'm talking wide open,
Yep.
not a soul
Yep.
around him. So that's really 6 drives where you come up with absolutely nothing, man. Absolutely nothing. Um, Even with the 3 turnovers, Tennessee still had opportunities to win this game, and they just
Oh yeah.
didn't. They just didn't make it happen. But that I'm still gonna lay on that bed saying that scoreless second quarter is really, really, really what put this team behind. Because after that scoreless second quarter, Tennessee was just trying to fight back the whole game, and then
Yep.
they just couldn't
And,
find ways to get it done, man.
and that all goes back to all the missed opportunities to be up big in the second half, man. And and you just can't do that in this caliber of a game. Um, I and in my this is and this we can come back to if there's more to talk about directly to the game. Um, kind of my thing on how it affects your season. So yeah, the season's not over. So technically, it feels over because like we know that we're not going to the playoffs or anything big, right? And let's face it, a bowl game anymore is kind of whatever.
Yep,
I'm
yep,
not I'm not too concerned about what bowl game we're going to be in, and that sounds bad, but it is. It's true. Now that being said, I think it's important to finish strong on the season and win your bowl game and win some money for the college and stuff like that. But my focus now, and this isn't one of those Tennessee fan moments. Oh, maybe next year, but my focus, if it tells you like how the remainder of the season for me is to set up for next season, to set up for the next year. That's where the mindset kind of goes. I think if you're Josh Heupel, you can't lose your locker room. Um, you can't let a loss like this get them down because I think we need to look at the very real possibility that out of the 3 games, only one of them is I mean, it's New Mexico State. We're going to, I'm really glad we got a bye week and then New Mexico State. So the next 2 weeks, we shouldn't have to worry about anything. So that's nice. But dude, there's a real possibility to end up being 7-5 on the season. And so I think Heupel's got to, and as fans, I think it's important for Tennessee to still finish strong. So, and because we got to you got to think about recruiting. You got to think about all that stuff. I think if you got your seniors on your team, play for pride, man. At this point, in the season strong, because you could also still be a 10-3 team at the end of the year if you win your bowl game. I mean, you could finish the season regular season 9-3. You could win a probably at that point a big bowl game that's gonna and have a 10-3 season. Now I know we're tired of just that, as Tennessee fans, but you could have the same record as you did last year technically, even though they made playoffs last year and lost. You could technically end up with the same record. But the reason I think it's important, like I said, the seniors, you kind of got to be like, all right, playing for pride. The other players on the team, you're playing to end that strong and take that momentum in the next year. But I think that recruiting is important. You still have an opportunity to do something that's not been done since 2003, and that's go into the swamp and go into Florida and beat Florida. And you also have a chance at the last game of the season in Knoxville to knock to knock Vanderbilt out of playoff contention. A team that's been talking crazy on you, I feel like for like the last year or two.
Sure.
Um, take that momentum, knock out your in-state rival. Knock them out of playoffs. And that's kind of like why I think there's still stuff to play for. I mean, um, like I said, the swamp, we've not won there, and we'll talk about all this stuff as it comes up. But I'm just looking at where we're at right now in the season. I think it's important. I think it's important to at least split one of those games and at least be, um, finish 8-4 on the season. Obviously, I'd rather just we weren't right about how they did it, but I'd rather our record prediction be right and they be 9-3. But I think it's definitely important to at least be 8-4 and win your bowl game. Um, and go 9-4 because I think a worst case scenario, you go 7-5, dude, and then you lose your bowl game and you end up 7-6 on the year.
That's a
That
major step back.
Yeah. So you can't say the season's over. You could say like the goal of like what the greatness of the season could be is over, but I think that it's important to focus on the season can end a lot worse if you let it, and I think it's important for him to hold that locker room. And I just kind of say all that to think about this as some things that could going forward, what this could have affected. So you either let that affect you and end the season in a negative manner, or you end the season in a positive way. And and realistically, man, if they go 9-3, we no one expected us to go to the playoffs this year. No one expected that. We didn't expect it. Um, I think it's tough as a Tennessee fan though because we get the hopes there because you get in those moments where you have the opportunity and then you have a letdown like this, and it makes it that much worse. You know what I mean? It's not that I didn't expect them to lose 3 games this year because I did, but it's just the fact that you had the opportunity and that's how you lost it. You
Yeah.
know,
That's what's tough about it. And like you said, man, those expectations early in this, early in the preseason before the season even started. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really expect us to make a playoff appearance. It was hopeful. I mean, you always got to be hopeful. And I said it last week, and you can rewind the tape and go back and watch that episode. I said my biggest concern going into this Oklahoma game was, is Tennessee battle tested enough? And then we proceeded to look up and down the schedule at who we'd played and who we'd beat. And we looked at those opponents' combined win record, and we looked at how none of them are ranked and none of them have been ranked. And it's just to that point in the season, or to this point in the season, it's true. I mean, regardless of how big of a fan you are, or how much you want to root on this team, the only teams that we had played that were ranked or really were going to do anything or accomplish anything this season, we got beat by. And I think that, when you beat a Syracuse week one and then you played Georgia close and then you went on to beat UAB, Mississippi State, Arkansas, it start and the way Joey was looking and throwing the ball and racking up yards and stuff like that, it just built on more of those, I'm just going to call them unrealistic expectations of making the playoffs. And it gave us a sense of hope. Maybe it was a sense of false hope, who knows? But at the end of the day, I think that this team still, as unpolished as it has looked at certain moments and how ugly it's looked on defense on certain moments, this team has really still done pretty good considering everything that was stacked up against them in the offseason with all the Boo Carter crap and Nico Iamaleava leaving and us bringing in a quarterback from Appalachian State. I mean, who we didn't know what this season was going to look like. You lost the number one running back in the SEC. You lost multiple all SEC defensive guys. And I'm not making
Injuries.
excuses. Yeah, I'm not making excuses. These are just facts, black and white on paper facts. So anything that Tennessee did this season in the win column was going to be a plus. And like you said, I mean, we predicted them to go 9-3. They didn't take that third loss to the team that I thought they would. So hopefully we can switch that and get the dub. But I think it's a crucial moment for Tennessee to have a bye week. It could be dangerous to have a bye week after a loss like that too. Who knows? And after knowing you just booted yourself out of the playoffs, but it's going to be a good bye week for Tennessee to kind of sit back and reflect and figure out what are we playing for, boys? You know, what do we want this season to be? And I'll say one more thing, and then I'll let you pick back up. You mentioned something about keeping the locker room together and playing together and all that stuff. It's important for Josh Heupel to do that, but it's also important for Josh Heupel to keep future locker rooms together. Any recruits that you have right now, you don't want them boys flipping. You know, you don't want them to go to other teams. And I think in this offseason, Josh Heupel has a lot of thinking to do, a lot of big time changes as far as coordinators need to be considered. Um, You know, you've held on to Tim Banks long enough, in my opinion, defensive coordinator.
Yep.
You've held
And it's
on to Joey Halsley long enough, the offensive coordinator. Those guys, it might be time for them to hit the door.
yeah, and I've seen the Tim Banks argument, and then and some people get on there. Well, last year he had the top defense like he did. Yeah, but he's what, five? Was this 5 years or maybe?
Well,
It's the only defense that he had though that was worth much of a count. And
he had some
you know what I
players
mean?
last year, is what he had.
He had some players. That's what happened. You got, he happened to get some. If you were decent I'm not saying he's, and maybe it's just time. I'm not saying he's, um, overall, maybe he is a good defensive coordinator and it works out somewhere else. But I think a change does need to happen. And I do think you're right. And yeah, the bye week, sometimes those can be dangerous, but luckily we do play New Mexico State after the bye week. So it's like we get a bye week and get a little warm up into getting ready for Florida, and stuff. So, um, I'm just glad, man, I ain't got nothing to worry about next weekend and I can just enjoy watching college
Yeah,
football, dude, because
take a
it was
deep
just,
breath.
yeah, just wasn't an enjoyable weekend, and it's unfortunate. Sometimes that happens, man.
It does.
But I don't really got much more anything on this game, man. If you don't, so we do got some other things that happened this weekend too. Pretty big
Crazy
wild
stuff. Crazy
weekend
stuff.
and wild weekend in college football, man. And just start with another coach getting fired. Uh, Auburn fired Hugh Freeze, man. I've seen, I see where the fans are booing him after they lost to Kentucky, and that was a low-scoring game too. And they lost to Kentucky, and the fans are booing him. And I knew that was, how many times we've seen a coach getting booed by the fans, and they end up getting fired this year. Um,
Mhm.
but it seems to be when you lose to Kentucky in football, man, it's not a good look. You're,
Not at
it's
all, man.
happens a lot. It seems like at that point, if you're a big SEC school, and I'm not saying Auburn was this big, high-ranked SEC school or nothing, but you know what I mean. That historically they have been a pretty big school there, and as soon as that happens, man, it seems to be. What are your thoughts on that? Hugh Freeze getting fired?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you take a loss to Kentucky, who, correct me if I'm wrong, but they haven't won an SEC game in I don't know how long. I mean,
They hadn't
it's just
this
not,
year.
yeah, it's not a good look losing to Kentucky and only putting up 3 points on them at that. I mean, that's just not a good look. But Hugh Freeze, he's the fourth head coach in the SEC to be fired this year. It's going to be a major, crazy shakeup to start next year. There's going to be, I mean, I don't know who's going to be where, but I mean, you're talking, I mean, that's another big time program. You can put Auburn up there with Florida and LSU. I mean, those are three huge programs that have vacancies at head coach. So you're going to see someone slide into those roles. Um, and I don't know who it's going to be. I mean, nobody really does at this moment, but it's crazy to see just how the landscape of college football has changed. Now, this is Hugh Freeze's. I think him getting fired a little over midway through the season, so he's been there for almost 3 years, not quite 3 years. Um, some people could argue that that's not enough time to turn a program around, but it just seems like in today's college football world, man, people don't have patience. And if you don't produce, within a couple years, they're going to boot you. Hugh Freeze's record, his overall record at Auburn while he was there is 15-19, 6-16 in the SEC. I mean, that's just not getting the job done. And this is the kicker right here against ranked opponents. While Hugh Freeze was at Auburn, 1-12 against ranked opponents.
Yeah, that's not gonna do it, man. It's not gonna keep your job, and I get why they fired him, man.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Honestly,
just a
so
matter of
yeah,
time, man. It was
yeah,
just a matter
for
of time,
sure.
and he won't be the last. He won't be the last coach to lose their job this season. I mean, you've got Dabo Sweeney down there in Clemson just looking terrible. They took another loss this past weekend. I mean, I don't know how you don't question Kentucky's coach. He might as well just live on the hot seat. So there's going to be other coaches get fired this season.
There's definitely some people on that hot seat, and it's wild, man. But it's how it's been this year, and just to touch here a little bit on some of our notable games too, kind of see what our record was maybe for predicting wise. We both had Ohio State winning. I mean, they beat. It looked a little close there at one point in the first
It
half,
did.
and then they
It was
took off
wild.
38-14. We expected that, man. I think we said it wasn't going to really be a close game overall. I'm pretty sure I predicted them to win by multiple scores. As expected, Ohio State beat Penn State easily. One that we did get wrong, man. It's the bigger one here. Texas beat Vandy 34-31. So I'm surprised it was as close as it was. Vandy really had a big fourth quarter to try to make a comeback. I think it was one of those like too little, too late though. Offense had basically disappeared for the first three quarters of that game. I think they only had 10 points going into the fourth. Um, and Arch Manning, dude,
He lit
looking
it
pretty
up,
good,
dude.
man. I think Texas is kind of turning it around here a little bit. They've hung in there. They keep hanging in there, and they're a two-loss team. And we said it when they were like six. I think they were when they were 6-2 or something. I guess going into this game they would have been, and we're just like, how are they even
Yeah,
at that? And then
it
now
didn't
they've
feel
kind of
like it.
I think Arch has kind of turned it around the last few games, looking better when they played Oklahoma, and then now they're beating Vandy. I mean, they're playing some pretty good football right now, man. Overall, so Texas has kind of flipped it around. Any thoughts that you have on that game,
Yeah,
Texas and Vandy?
I just had a couple things written down that kind of stuck out to me. Texas sacked Pavia 6 times, so that could have been a key contributor to how the game played out. The biggest thing that I saw that stuck out, and it's how Vandy shot themselves in the foot. They went scoreless in the first quarter and the third quarter. And we just got finished saying that you cannot go scoreless in a quarter of football in the SEC. Both quarterbacks actually played good, though. Both of them flirting with 300 and, well, Pavia had 365 through the air and 3 touchdowns. Arch had 328 and 3 touchdowns. So great quarterback play. But you can't go scoreless in a quarter of football in the SEC, and they did it twice.
No. So yeah, Vandy still technically in there, you know, have a chance at playoffs, but it definitely hurts it for them. On that. But hopefully Tennessee can knock that out at the end of the year. That'd be nice to see. But
Hopefully it
going on
doesn't
to
come down to that. Hopefully they knock themselves out before then.
that's true too. Very true. um, and then we both did get this game right. Georgia beat Florida, 24-20. Close game.
Yeah.
That fourth down play, man. That kind of did it right there. I think where Georgia stopped Florida on that fourth down. And that's the thing about Florida, man. That's what makes them. Buddy of mine's a Georgia fan. We were texting about it, and I was like, dude, the annoying thing about Florida this year, their record's not good. but they have talent.
Hmm.
Sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. Um, what's annoying about Florida is they're dangerous, but it doesn't look good. If you lose to them, it doesn't look good because of their record.
Right.
The committee's
Right.
not going to like that. And if you have a close game with them, the committee's not going to really like that. And so they're just a team that just kind of sucks to have on your schedule, man. In my
They
opinion,
are.
I don't know what you feel on this game, but we both did get that game right. We did pick Georgia to win that game. At the end of the day, Georgia did, dude. And Georgia does playing close games just must be their thing. I mean, even when they lost to Bama, it was a 3-point game. I mean,
Mhm.
and they usually get in these games against teams that you think they should beat a little more. They always have a close game and they always win. On these games, it's not supposed to be close. They still somehow pull them out.
I mean, that's what great teams do. I mean, you get in tight games like this and you don't let up and you keep fighting and grinding and win and just win football games. Yeah, that was a wild game right there, man. That was really crazy. I thought there for a minute, man. I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you, dude. I thought Florida might be able to pull it out, but what do you know? They went scoreless in the second quarter.
Another game, like you said, that you had a scoreless quarter, starting to add
Yep.
up, starting
I'm
to add
just
up.
saying. I'm just saying.
Um, and the last notable game that we had made a prediction on, man. This was the one we were different on. You had the Cincinnati, I had Utah. Man, this game Utah beat. I did get this one. Utah did beat Cincinnati 45-14. Now that shocked me. I didn't expect nothing like
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
guess there was a reason there was a 10-point spread that seemed kind of weird, for
I
but
was dead wrong on that one.
hey man, neither one of us had a lot of a clue about this game. We were honest and upfront about it anyway, so
Sure.
I just
Sure.
kind of picked Utah just I just felt like they were going to be the better team. I didn't expect, it's no crazy football knowledge that I just knew that, oh yeah, they're going to beat them 45-14. So just
Dude,
wanted
if
to
you
touch on
had that
those games.
knowledge, if you had that kind of knowledge, we'd be racking up on FanDuel every week,
Oh yeah,
DraftKings.
yeah, yeah. I'm on a break right now, if that tells you anything. So
Uh,
I gotta take some time off. It's not went well the last few
no
weeks.
doubt. No
We
doubt.
just wanted to touch on our notable games since we made predictions. Like to let people know kind of how those went for us. So it's kind of half and half. It felt like this weekend. But something we did have this weekend that was really big that I want to touch on, and that we always do, and I like when we can have one of these. We can't have them every week, but we have some upset alerts. Not
Upset alert.
that is plural, man. Upset alerts on this. Starting off with the one I was telling you about. I texted you about a Friday night when this game happened. West Virginia only had a 2-6 record coming into this game
Yeah.
against number 22 Houston, who was 7-1 on the season. West Virginia ended up beating them 45-35. Man, pretty crazy game while I was watching it. It looked like Houston would get back into it, and then West Virginia. I know they had a pick at one point that was big. Had some big plays on their end, and just didn't look like a 2-6 football team, man. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys
They
see
haven't
that,
had
but
a good season at all, man.
yeah. So that's definitely an upset set there.
Big time.
Um, and any of these games, you got something you want to say, feel free to stop me, or I can go ahead and announce them all three, and then we can discuss them a
I
little
only
bit.
have stuff. I only have a few things to say about the next two. Be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's kind of how I was. I just kind of caught this one. Um,
Yeah.
the
Big time upsets.
these next two are big. These are top 10 teams. Um, Starting with number 8 Georgia. Man, they got beat by NC State 48-36. This
Georgia
one
Tech.
shocked. Or I'm sorry, yeah, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, man, getting beat by NC State. Dude, this one shocked me.
Yeah. Yeah, it shocked me too. I'm low key. So my cousin is a Georgia Tech fan. So part of me always kind of roots for Georgia Tech to do good. And I'll be honest with you. I don't think the kid gets enough credit, gets enough love, especially by the national media. But Haynes King, the quarterback there at Georgia Tech, is an absolute animal. He deserves even though this loss was a tough loss, upset loss, that kid deserves more Heisman talk, man.
Oh, yeah.
Especially even after this game. I mean, 408 yards, two touchdowns. 103 on the ground. I mean, he's an absolute dog.
for sure. Yeah, and I mean, and obviously more than the offense put up good points, but
Yeah.
defense allowing 48 points. And I honestly, I didn't even like have this game on my radar at all. I didn't even like think
Yeah.
nothing about this game. And then I seen that happen, and I was like, oh man, we're about to take an upset.
It's
Another one,
this was one of those. Well, I was just gonna say, man, like it wasn't on your radar because it shouldn't have been. Like this is just one of those games that goes to show you that college football, anything can happen at any given moment. I will add this, and then we can move on. I feel like Georgia Tech is still probably the best team to come that's going to be coming out of the ACC. I look for them to probably win the ACC. I'll leave it at that.
yeah, it does kind of look that way. Because another ACC team that went down, that was number 10, Miami. Um, 26 to 20. SMU, SMU, I know was ranked at the beginning of the year, supposed to be better than what they did. Haven't done that well. But man, Miami, what a surprise, man! I know to us, several weeks ago, we had Miami as being one of being the best team in college football. A lot of talent. Man, I seen something. I don't know if you've seen this, but after this game, um, they basically was talking to Carson Beck about SMU, and he mentioned something about running the same. They were running the same play over and over, and then they said he just all he does is execute what plays are called. I feel like he threw some shade at the kind of the coaching
Yeah,
there and some stuff,
no
man.
doubt.
So
Not a
I
good
don't
look.
know. Not a good look. I don't know what's going on down there, but definitely not a good look. He kind of really didn't take responsibility for it, and I guess he threw some picks this game. I don't, but all I know is the only other loss they had, he threw 4 interceptions, and one of them was in clutch time. So I feel like
Yeah,
Carson Beck needs to be taking a little bit of responsibility when stuff like this is happening. But yeah,
yeah.
just interesting. I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know if you saw that yet, but just
No,
got
I
take a
hadn't saw that.
get
Something
a
that
chance to look
Carson
that
Beck
up.
Yeah, something that Carson Beck could take away from this is the grass may not always be greener on the other side of that portal.
No, no, and man, and it looked like it was going to be. I'm
For
not gonna
sure.
lie.
For sure.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like you
and
said,
yeah,
just a few weeks ago, we had them as the best team in college football, and
mhm,
that's we can eat those words now, but SMU, I think this is their second year in the ACC, if I'm not mistaken. I think last year was their first year in the ACC. And dude, they've made a huge impact since joining the ACC, and they're a dangerous team. I mean, they're 6-3. They're not going to make the playoffs or anything like that. But I mean, to take down the big dog that everybody claims is going to come out of the ACC as the champion. I mean, that's a
yeah,
that's a upset. That's an upset.
for sure, man. For sure, and that kind of wraps up our upsets there. But big week for that, man, because normally you might get lucky if you get one or two there to talk about. So
Yes.
that was a big upsets. Two top 10 teams, a lot of changes. And speaking of those changes, that obviously switches up the AP poll.
As it
Quickly on
always
this,
does.
we always talk about that on the recap, man. The AP poll, starting off, Tennessee drops to 23. I expected that.
Of
Honestly,
course.
just I mean, as a Tennessee fan, you got to be happy it's still being ranked. No, now I don't feel like we would have deserved to drop out of the top 25, losing a close game to Oklahoma. Um, but I also don't want to be ranked. Feel like we deserve to be ranked too high or anything because we haven't beat anybody. So um, dropped to 23. I'm just going to name these off. That's some things that I put some notes here, and I'll let you kind of talk about the AP poll. Georgia Tech dropped to 16. So they did. Yeah, obviously, they were going to drop out of the top 10 at least for sure. 16's not honestly good with the loss they had. Not as low as what you think it could have went to, but dropped to 16. So probably a good spot there for them. Miami drops down to number 18. Still in the top 20. Um, so that was just,
Just a
and then,
few, just a few short weeks ago, man, Miami was like number 2 or 3. That's
yeah,
crazy.
so crazy, man. And I think I got a typo here on what did Vandy drop to? I got that they had dropped
Vandy dropped to 15.
15. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I had a little bit of a typo on my notes I typed up here, but yeah, Vandy dropped to 15, which I think is fair, man. I mean, it's not like they lost to a bad team or anything, and it ended up being close. That Texas moved up to 13.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Texas moving up, and then Oklahoma ended up moving up to 11. That was some notes that I had on there, just some key moves that happened.
Yep.
You know,
I
I
don't, I just real quick, just off of that alone, that's really the only thing I have to say about it. Um, Oklahoma went from 18 to 11 after beating Tennessee. And to me, the game really wasn't that big of like a win. If I mean, I know Tennessee was ranked 14 at the time, but if you look at Tennessee's resume and all that and the way that Oklahoma won the game, I don't know that it warrants jumping that many spots when, you had Texas that was 20th that went to 13 after beating Vandy. I I'm saying all that to say this. I think you should still have Vandy and maybe even Texas ahead of Oklahoma.
Yeah, I agree honestly with you there because Oklahoma being at 14 maybe or something where Tennessee was, um, I think that warrants obviously moving up some. Winning a night game in Neyland against a team that's ranked higher than you, I do think, warrants for moving up. But them moving up to 11, yeah, I just don't see them being ahead of Texas or Vandy right now. I don't think they're better than either one of those teams. Um, and I know that they probably and some of these teams I would say they moved up some because you got Georgia Tech and Miami who dropped out of the top 10. But man, I mean, I just see honestly, you could even have Texas 10, Vandy at 11, 12, somewhere around there, and then having Oklahoma around like 13 or 14, in my opinion.
Yep.
I just
Yep.
don't see them being ranked ahead of Vandy and Texas. I
Yeah,
do agree with you.
that's something that catches my eye. And one
No, I
one
don't
more
rank
thing.
them ahead of them as far as talent wise. I don't think they're better than Vandy or Texas.
Right, right. Something else that catches my eye, and this is a hypothetical, and this is my last call back to the game, and I'll leave it alone. But if you look at everything that happened in college football this weekend or this past weekend, and you look at what Tennessee did, they shot themselves in the foot. They lost that game. If Tennessee could have won that game, look what happened ahead of you. Vanderbilt took a loss. Georgia Tech took a loss. Miami took a loss. All of those teams taking losses that were ranked ahead of you to begin with. If you could have just squeezed out that win, man, you could be sitting top 10 easily. Three of the 8, 9, and 10, all three lost.
Oh yeah,
You could be
and
sitting in there right behind Ole Miss potentially.
that's something I literally sat there and thought about, man. I was like, they could be a like you said,
It's a
8, 9,
shame.
or a 10 ranked team right now, and it's tough. It's a
Yep,
tough loss, man.
it's a shame. Because
But
everything kind of played out in your favor. Things you couldn't control that would have helped you, they happened.
yep, and that would have
But in,
you're increasing those playoff odds dramatically at
yep,
that point.
of course.
Well, man,
That's all I've
uh,
got, man.
I was gonna say that's all I got. It's kind of a tough episode. I know we didn't have a lot of positives. There was some crazy things at least to talk about outside of the Tennessee game. Man, moving forward, they just like I said, Tennessee's going to lock in, man, and Heupel's going to have to keep them motivated. You got to in your season strong, and it definitely has impacts. Even though the season may seem over, as far as you ain't making playoffs or anything like that, but it has impacts. So.
Yep,
Um,
100%.
But anybody watching, we do appreciate it as always. Like and subscribe if you want to continue seeing content. And Adam, if that's good with you, man, I'm good on this one. And it's fun as always, though, man. And I'll see you, dude.
All right, take care, brother.